Hi, and welcome to the 12th House Podcast. I'm Michelle Pelizon, your host and the head witch in charge here at Holisticism. And on today's episode, we have dear friend of the show, Serita Fontanessi. Serita is a healer, an activist. She's the executive director of Emerge Texas, and she is also a tarot reader and energy practitioner. She's like kind of a dream girl. And Serita has taught a bunch of classes with Holisticism, and I just adore her, and I think she's so fun, and we have the best time together. And this podcast is certainly an example of that. We meant to record for an hour, and we went far longer than we expected, but I think that we really get to the juicy part of our conversation at the hour point. So if you really want to hear about the healing journey and spirituality, fast forward to then. But we're just really happy that Serita came on to talk with me and the whole Holisticism team about her experiences in the spiritual world and sort of how she bridges the gap between the social work that she does and the spiritual work that she does. And I love her perspective. I love how grounded she is. I love how honest and open she is about things like therapy and depression and anxiety. And we talk about ADHD and having adult diagnosed ADHD in this episode, amongst many other things. But I just love her. And I think that you'll really like this conversation too. If you enjoy fun things, laughing, spirituality, and if you've ever gone through a breakup, I feel like this will be really useful. Serita also, we referenced that she is teaching a class, and she's actually teaching a class for the North Node this month. We are covering the unconscious inside of the North Node. The North Node's our private members community for intuitive entrepreneurs. And part of what we're doing is making space for the unconscious and just acknowledging our unconscious. We're doing that from two sort of perspectives. One is by diving deeper into the tarot, which is an amazing opportunity for you to use your subconscious or unconscious mind to piece together ideas, stories, narratives, or intuit messages. And we're also talking about structure. So how can we create structure in our lives and in our businesses so that our conscious mind really has more room to dive deep and not be constantly playing catch up and being distracted by staying busy and being disorganized. So sometimes what we do as humans as a coping mechanism is keep ourselves sort of like ice skating on the surface or tap dancing on the surface of the ice to prevent us from going deep. So if you spend a lot of time on scrolling on Instagram or being busy on the internet, or perhaps you are very disorganized, maybe your house is really messy or your desktop is really messy, that can be because we don't actually want to see what's underneath it, right? We want to stay busy being distracted, or we want to stay busy cleaning things up instead of just facing what's actually there. As a formerly messy person, I guess my partner would say I'm a messy person now, but as someone who was supremely disorganized growing up, I resonate with this deeply. So this is not a call out, it's a call in. But if you tend to be the type of person who doesn't think about organizing your email inbox or organizing your receipts or having a plan or an editorial calendar, stuff like that sounds totally unsexy, but is actually really important, you're only really doing a disservice to yourself and to your unconscious, because our unconscious mind is the parts of us that are hidden below the surface of the water, right? Hidden below what we're consciously aware of in our day to day. And there's so much juicy, good information there that we can pull up from and bring into our consciousness to make art, to make purpose, to make meaning in the world. And normally the really good stuff is in our unconscious, right? It's not close to the surface, and it takes some time to mine that unconscious or subconscious aspects of ourselves. It's not always really easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. It involves things like shadow work and getting quiet and giving yourself the opportunity to go deep. And if you think about how few times we actually give ourselves the opportunity to go deep on ideas or concepts, it really makes you think, wow, what would my life be like? What could my work look like? What could my relationships look like if I gave myself a little bit more time to go into what's there, what's right underneath the surface for me? And normally when we excavate our unconscious or subconscious, it can be a lot of information, but it's also really rich information. And the Jungian psychologist Robert Johnson calls it the gold in our shadows. So what is that gold that you are overlooking? And we can, overlook our gold by refusing to do subconscious work. And that's totally fine. But we can also overlook the gold by not allowing ourselves to go deeply into anything, to work deeply. And one way that we prevent ourselves from working deeply is by staying disorganized. Because if we stay busy by trying to reorganize ourselves, or we're always, sort of like playing catch up, then we never have to go deep. Anyways, that's what we're talking about in the North Node this month. If that dysregulated you or resonated with you, then maybe something to think about. And if you decide to join the North Node when the doors open in June, definitely come back to this month's module. There's going to be a lot of useful information for you. Anyway, so Serita's coming in to teach masterclass on the tarot, which is going to be so fun. And so my North Noders, get excited about that. And I just love her. I think she's amazing and so hilarious. And clearly we're going to have more than one follow-up episode about this podcast, about this episode. In particular, we talked about so much stuff. So I'm going to let you go ahead and listen to that. And I can't wait to hear what you think. Serita, welcome. We are so excited to have you on the 12th house today.
Hi, thank you. I am incredibly excited to be here.
We are your fan club, as I've already mentioned before we hit record on this, but we've been waiting for this moment. So tell us everything.
Okay, sure.
Leave nothing out.
I was born on a Sunday afternoon evening at 7:49 p.m.
Well, technically, we would love to hear what your astrological chart looks like. If you're going to go there with your birth time and place.
I know. It is almost entirely Leo and Capricorn. And
amazing.
I have been this way my entire life, just bossy and with a lot of enthusiasm. I think that's the only way that I get away with it. But yeah, hi, hello. For folks who might not know who I am, my name is Serita Fontanessi. You can find me online at Serita Fonta everywhere. In my day life, I am the executive director of an organization called Emerge Texas. We work to recruit, train, and provide a network for Democratic self-identified women running for office around the state of Texas. Yeah, it's very fun. I absolutely, look, cis men have had a long time to do things. And I believe in giving everyone a chance. And I just think they've had a long enough chance. And maybe we let some other folks get in on the mix. I definitely, and we can get into this, bring astrology and tarot and all of my mysticism into my political work. The personal is political. And I think if we had some more mysticism and just holistic care in politics, it wouldn't be am I allowed to cuss? I should have asked this.
Yeah, you can fucking cuss.
Okay, yeah. It wouldn't be the fucking shit show that it is now. Millions of Texans wouldn't have lost their power last week because of ineffective governing. We're the only state not on the national grid. And we were literally getting power from Mexico, which there's some irony in there.
And this is not the first time that's happened. I actually did not understand how any of this worked. I was like, why the fuck? Why can't they just borrow power? It's so weird. It's because of capitalism. It's because they opened up the free market. And that's
they're private.
Yes, that's insane to me. That is insane.
Well, let's play a game called Last Week. At the beginning of the week, I have been listening to The Week Ahead from Chani Nichols, which I'm sure a lot of us have gotten the app and are deep in it. And Chani was talking about how last week in particular, we were going to see some tower energy and failings of technology in particular. It was really because Mercury was getting ready to station direct. And so that was going to be the week that technology was just kind of going to fall to shit. And she was back up your computers, back up your phone, the normal things that we talk about and think about with technology. And then the storm started on kind of Monday. It really came in Tuesday. And we just watched this state fall apart. There's a false narrative of the wind turbines being why it didn't work. Actually, the wind turbines outperformed what we expected them to do.
right-wing propaganda situation.
Oh, fully. I've said it before. I've said it. I'll say it again. I've been quoted saying this. Republicans are trash, but they are really good at marketing. And
True.
They will latch onto a talking point and just run with it.
But aren't Democrats the same? Like, don't they do the same thing?
No, they're not as good.
They're not as good.
We're really Democrats.
I think it's
really
like a moral
watery.
thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats can get really watery in their messaging because they're focused on, we're supposed to be the inclusive party, the party of the people. And so trying to constantly make statements and catches and whatever that are going to be the most palatable. So kind of like not lowest common denominator in terms of like people won't understand this, but in terms of what will just hit the masses, mass marketing. But like, and Michelle, I'm sure you think about this all the time in your business and in your branding. The more specific and niche you are, the higher return. Like the more people are like, oh, I know that this is my person. And I know that this, in a political sense, is the party that I want to be with because I fully understand what they mean and what they stand for. And Democrats focus a lot on we're the opposite of the Republicans, which actually doesn't tell me what you stand for.
Exactly. And I feel like that's perhaps why they aren't as good with their marketing because I feel like if they knew exactly who they were talking to, they would be right there with the Republicans.
Fully. If we could just, steal from the best. Like, if we could just commit to something, anything, pick a thing. Like if we want to talk about, this was actually a conversation that I had earlier this year of, if we want to talk about Medicare for all, people are really scared of that phrase because there's a lot of inaccurate information and Republican talking points that come out around it. But if you just explain Medicare for all actually just means that every single person gets basic access to quality care. Is that not a thing that you want? Do you not want access to quality care? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's a different conversation and a lot harder to argue with. I just want to make sure that everyone has access to quality care. Like that's really hard to argue with versus I want Medicare for all. Like, oh, well, that means you're going to take away how blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And like we had this conversation around defund the police of people being like, I don't know, that's big, that's scary. That means that we're going to have these lawless, chaotic lands. And I'm like, first of all, show me a police that's doing
what do we have right now?
Yeah. This is actually the Thunderdome. Right. Like, I would not describe this as functioning.
No. I think they've all gone rogue.
Yeah, quite honestly. But also it's like defund the police. It means we take away funding from an entity that's not working and give it to social workers, to schools, to healthcare, to entities that could work better and create safer communities. And then all of a sudden when you're like, oh, I actually want to reallocate funds so that kids can have quality education and after school programs. So there's less access to like violence in their community. That's really hard to argue with, but like nobody says it. Like I shouldn't say nobody, but like powers that be don't speak in that way because I don't know. I can't even tell you why.
Well, can I tell you why I think why?
Yes, please.
Because honestly, I feel like Democrats and Republicans are all the same in regards to wanting power. I don't necessarily think they're here for equality or for us as like a United States to be united. It's more so about having power. And yeah, the idea of, and I feel like the Democratic Party is super divided with people who are like extreme in their thinking or not extreme, but like who want Medicare for all and who want to reallocate where the funds for the police go. And then you have other Democrats that are like, more like, you know, it's just like that.
Who are like lightweight Republicans.
High key. You know what I'm saying?
Just the two-party system, I feel like, you know, it's a long ways away, but coming from Canada where there are more systems, I feel like it really, or parties, you really do get to see the division among the like left side and the right side. And it's time, I feel like over here.
Yeah.
And since COVID has started, Canada has just been looking so amazing to me. I didn't realize how great Canada was.
also has its issues, though.
Yeah.
I think exactly.
We hear a lot of good things about Canada
it.
here.
Yeah.
Fully. But that's the thing of like the bar is on the floor and just like a government that at least will pretend like it cares about you is radical to us.
Yeah.
Like, my grandparents live,
the
bar is on the floor. Look. My grandparents live in the Netherlands, which is like,
wait, how'd they end up there? Please, I want to hear the story.
Sure. So my biological grandparents, my grandfather and my grandmother, divorced early on. They got married way too young, had kids, and my grandfather is in the Air Force. So they were traveling all the time. And my grandma was like, hi, I have 2 small children. I'm tired of moving every year, every 2 years. You know, military life is hard. So they got divorced. They are still buest friends to this day. And I actually think it's very cute. Yeah. We call it everyone for Christmas, for all the holidays, for the birthdays, everything. And so my grandfather continued to travel with his work. And his last big station was in the Netherlands, and he met my step grandma there, who is Dutch, Toos. She's so fabulous and so 80s. She has bright red curly hair, wavy hair with blue eyeshadow, thick rouge. She is
amazing. She sounds like a queen.
Fully. Toos is the queen of her castle, and I love it. But so he lives there now with his second wife and their kids and grandkids and whatever. He's been there since I was 10, so for quite some time now.
Wow.
Which was really cool. When I studied abroad, I got to go visit and stayed with them for a couple of weeks, which also they're both very tall. Toos is 6 feet tall, and my grandfather is 6'3". They're both just giants. I'm 5'7" on a good day. So when I stayed with them, they had to buy a stepladder for me so that I could reach stuff. I couldn't make a fucking bowl of cereal in their house because everything was so tall. I was this is literally a house of giants. I'm
the Netherlands, man. That's
the Netherlands.
Yeah.
They don't make them small.
I did not get those genes. I think we're all under 5'4" here.
Yeah. No, I think the tallest person on our team is 5'3", and I feel like that's you, Wallace.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's right. I am 5'1". So
I'm 4'10" and 3/4.
Okay. I love a 3/4.
Yeah.
5'1" and 3/4.
You gotta claim it all.
Yeah. I want every inch I can get. My hair counts.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, so they live in the Netherlands, and I mean, because he's ex-military, my grandfather is still sort of connected to American politics, but not nearly as much if he lived here. But every week he sends an email to the whole family called Dutch News. That's the best.
I want to be on that newsletter.
Dutch News, and he just
guy
updates us on what's going on with the family. He's very happily retired. But the only shout out that I ever get is, Serita, what are you going to do about Ted Cruz?
Oh my God.
The minute I'm originally from Houston, but I have not lived in Texas in quite some time. And we moved here to Austin almost a year ago. We got here March 1st. Michelle knows the story. I moved during a Mercury retrograde last year, and it was fucking wild. And then COVID hit. I was here for 2 weeks, and then everything shut down. But so when my grandfather found out that we were moving back to Texas, he was like, okay, well, you're moving to Texas, you're working in politics. What are you going to do about Ted Cruz? And I was like, I didn't realize that Ted Cruz was solely my responsibility. I'm happy to fight the cause and champion a great candidate, but I didn't know that it was purely my job. How grandparents are so what are you going to do about this? This is purely your job. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I have to find someone to run against Ted Cruz and win. Otherwise,
they know what you're capable of.
Yeah, I like to take it as him saying, you can do this, but right. I want to shine in the Dutch newsletter. So that everyone comes out.
You need your moment of glory. Well, okay. So I feel like we can help you with this because Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer.
Thank you. Great. Let's crack into it. I came here to talk about Ted Cruz as the Zodiac killer.
This is what this episode is actually about.
Yeah. FYI.
Did your research after this episode?
You are missing out if you have not heard the theories of Ted Cruz being a Zodiac killer.
If you haven't heard this and you're listening to it, just do a pause.
Do a Google.
Do a quick Google.
I promise it's going to be worth it. What's hilarious is the only way Ted Cruz could be the Zodiac killer is if he started killing as a child, like
it
a
makes
small
sense
child.
though. That checks out for him.
And the thing is, Ted Cruz might be one of the few people that I looked at and I'm like, you could have been a murderous child.
Oh,
there's a terrible show on, I think, Hulu, and it's called Kids Who Kill, or maybe it's Netflix. I don't remember.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
It is horrifying.
I could only get through as someone who loves like murder thriller, like, you know, all of that. I could only get through a few episodes because something about kids just really like does a number on me. Mm-hmm. But Ted Cruz could be on an episode of Kids Who Kill. I would believe it. I wouldn't be shocked by it. So that says something to your character, Ted.
And you know what? No one has ever seen Ted Cruz and the Zodiac Killer in the same room at the same time. So.
Okay,
and that's something we need to remember.
What is the Zodiac Killer?
I was like, has anybody ever seen the Zodiac Killer? I need to do research. I'm so lost.
No one has ever seen a Zodiac Killer. That's part of the
There is also that. Yep.
And which only proves that it could be Ted Cruz.
Yeah. It's not Ted Cruz necessarily. We can't rule him out.
Exactly. Like when I go and I think about it, like I can rule every single one of us out. I cannot rule out Ted Cruz.
Wait, what's the Zodiac Killer?
Oh my God. Wow. This is very exciting. Okay.
I'm going to say this is not a segue I thought we were going to take today, but I am here for it.
Here. So there's actually been like a couple breaks in the Zodiac Killer code recently.
Yes. On TikTok.
Yeah. On TikTok.
What? I love TikTok.
We're going to, okay.
TikTok
let me
will solve all the true crime.
Honestly, internet sleuths, more power to you.
Season of Justice. Yeah. That's what we're in right now.
Yeah.
The season of Justice.
I thought we were in the age of Aquarius.
Also that.
Well, that's part of it.
Both and situation.
Community.
Yeah. You can have it all for the low, low price of Ted Cruz's The Zodiac Killer. So the Zodiac Killer is in, this is a very, 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 very simplified, like, take. So for anyone listening who is like a murderino or like into true crime, whatever, please do not at me about this.
Yeah, don't.
I am well aware
that this is the Cliff Notes version.
Yes. So an infamous murderer who left the police and newspaper journalists, I was like, what are they called? These very cryptic codes and messages about their murders. And basically was like, here's how you catch me. But they made no fucking sense. And so for a very long time, people were like, this killer must have some type of like mental illness that we're never going to figure out their code because it's not like coming from a typical brain.
It's not like an actual cipher message.
Yes, that's just the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense and this murderer fucking with us, which if you watch Criminal Minds, you would know that like this person has to be highly intelligent in order for them to be doing this. But whatever.
The unsub is
the unsub.
Literally, yeah.
But so we have cracked one cipher and it was gibberish. And people were like, cool, this is proof that we're never going to figure this out. Recently, via TikTok, a woman realized that the thing that had been cracked was a code to a code. There were layers. And so she used that cipher to figure out the next cipher. And then the messages started making more sense because they had double coded it. Long story short, we have never known who the Zodiac Killer is, and they just mysteriously stopped murdering at one point. And so, which is why people, the theory, the non-Ted Cruz theory is that the person either was arrested for something else and is in jail and like serving some type of long sentence, or they were older and died. A la the Golden State Killer, or they like were somehow more involved. Cause look, all cops are bad. And they were able to kind of hide, or the third option is they were able to hide in plain sight and somehow manage to just stop killing, which is pretty rare with serial killers. But now that the code to the code is getting cracked, the police are getting some real momentum and trying to figure out who this longtime horrendous person was. And they still have not ruled out Ted Cruz to bring it back.
Exactly. Way to land that plane. Yes.
And how did Ted Cruz get involved?
For sure. That's fair. It really just started on the internet because he's an evil person. And I think there was like a sketch of the Zodiac at some point. Yeah. And Ted Cruz looked kind of like the sketch that like we've had since
he's
like the 80s.
Vaguely menacing, Ted Cruz, you know, like And it was during the presidential election. It's like around the time where we were making fun of Rick Santorum as well for being, for his last name, and his last name went in the Urban Dictionary as what it is, which is also hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just like making memes about Republicans. That's just,
but the Ted Cruz one has really stuck. Remember when that's so wholesome, so so young, so naive.
Right. Yeah. So that's, I mean, what a trip, man. Who knows what happened to the Zodiac? Like BTK stopped just randomly because he wanted to and then started again.
Yeah. So like who knows? Hopefully one day we will find out and be able to put some of these things to bed, to rest. If you watched the Golden State documentary from Michelle McNamara on HBO, if you're into true crime, highly recommend. It is incredibly well done. Michelle was brilliant, and her loss is obviously a huge loss for people personally and in the true crime community. But yeah, he was a cop who was getting away with it. And then one day just decided, all right, I guess I'll have a normal life and retire from the force and whatever. If you don't know, he was eventually caught via DNA from Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
So, take that for whatever you want.
Everyone go get your DNA tested now, because you don't know who in your family is the serial killer. You just don't.
My husband makes fun of me. So I did Ancestry.com because Black people don't know where they're from. And I was like, maybe this will tell me something. And I did the DNA swab or whatever. And it was like, oh, Nigerian and coastal African countries, cool. But I told my husband, I was like, I'm a little kind of bummed. And he was like, oh, were you hoping it was going to be more specific, normal questions? And I was like, no, I was kind of hoping there was a secret sibling or something out there. I have siblings who I love. I want to be clear. It's not like I'm an only child who was like, oh, I hope I have a sibling. No, I was just hoping there was scandal and drama in my family.
Yeah, you were hoping for a cooler sibling.
Yeah,
maybe there's a cool version of us.
I don't know.
Yeah. My partner E, someone in his family did 23andMe and found out that their dad was not their actual dad.
See?
That's a real thing.
It's wild.
No. Wow.
Yeah, and it was a thing, and they had siblings, and their siblings were also not related to the dad.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah.
That happened to somebody I knew too. That's crazy. A friend of my father's did it and found out that her father's not her real father.
Oh, no. See, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. If I think you're my dad, I want to keep you as my dad.
But also, there's an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. She has other siblings. She's discovering now that she has a whole new family from this other father.
Wow.
In her 50s now. She's a woman in her 50s now, getting to know an entire new family, lived her whole life thinking her father was her real father.
So that's crazy. I was waiting for my results, because it takes couple months. I was watching all of these YouTube videos, because there's videos for everything, of people getting their results and their reactions. Specifically, I was watching Black folks who were getting it and learning something about their heritage or their history, or, we have so much oral storytelling within our culture. And it's these stories are finally getting some more becoming more solidified, and it was beautiful and it was moving. And then of course I would also end up in videos of folks who were discovering secret families. Which I think is what set up my expectations of, could I have a secret family out there? Just give me one.
Am I actually Nigerian royalty?
Right. Oh, fully. I was like, okay, we just need to be prepared for whatever possibility comes up, which normal people, here's more proof that I have 6 planets in Leo. I can't stress this enough. I was I don't know, maybe I'm the descendant of kings and queens, or maybe we were there's going to be some wild ass story that gets discovered out of this. Very generic. We came from Nigeria. We were forced over here, moved through the South, and then the rest I know. I was fine. like low-key annoying.
You are a descendant from kings and queens, though. They just haven't figured that part out. Ancestry doesn't know it all.
Thank you. Like, spirit probably is like, it's best that you don't find out.
Right. The ego has to stay a little bit. We got to stay in a little bit of a realm of reality.
Absolutely. Like, we got to keep you somewhat grounded. Right. If you find out that you're the descendant of any kind of, like,
it's a wrap.
It's done for the rest of us.
It's a wrap. We're calling you queen for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Sarita, you should definitely walk in your royalty because, like, fuck all that. Like, go ahead and just be like, if you want to be royal, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and be royal.
Everyone, I have arrived.
100%.
Yes. Your pronouns are now she, her, queen.
Yes.
Yes. King or king.
Yeah. Just know that I am royalty. I don't ask me for proof. It doesn't matter. Does this ego not tell you?
Oh my God, that's where I stand. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm a descendant of a king or a queen, but guess what? Y'all gonna see that I'm a king, so there it is.
There it is. I demand the treatment as if you know. So.
Exactly. Were you surprised by your ancestry results at all, or was that kind of what you were expecting?
I wasn't, like, there was nothing like wild in there of like, oh, we are like part Filipino, like nothing that like I wouldn't have expected to see. It was, in all seriousness, it was really great though to Ancestry.com in particular. This is not a commercial. I want to be clear. This is just what I experienced.
We're not getting sponsored yet by Train Me or Ancestry.com.
Whoever pulls up first. Look, fight for my love. So what it does is based on the like genetic information, like DNA information and like your percentages or whatever. It's like, this is likely the journey that you're based on all of this data that they've culled and stories being told. And like, based on this information, it is likely this is the journey that your ancestors would have taken to get to where you are now. So like, that was really interesting because it was like, they talk about like the slave trade and like, I can't remember the percentages, but the biggest one was Nigerian. And then the next two were other like coastal African countries. So like that tracks. Like I didn't necessarily need confirmation for that, but like, nice to know. So they talk about the slave trade and how folks who were taken from these communities typically landed in these areas of the South and on plantations, and based on like migrational shifts, like after the technical abolishment of slavery and all of these things, this is how folks typically migrated. Mm-hmm. And it had me going from the Carolinas to Louisiana, which my dad's side of the family is from Louisiana. And then sort of kind of dispersing from there. My mom's side is pretty Midwestern, like Kansas. It's like not far either. And so like that was really interesting to see like, oh, like I know like my grandma's from Shreveport, but like, you don't know how people end up anywhere. And so like, oh, like this was sort of part of the Black movement, the Black migration of these times.
Yeah, I'm like, are we related? Because that's
probably
the migration of my family.
Wow.
Quite honestly, probably.
Wait, I have something to say. I have something to say about Ancestry.com because, like, remember when they had that commercial about the slave and the white person like running away to have their love? And I was like, no, she was a slave, sir. Like she was not.
Clear.
Wait, what? I don't know anything about that.
I had already given them my DNA when that commercial came out. I want to be clear. Otherwise, I would have made different choices.
Oh, no. So to me, I was just like, how can a company that clearly does not have representation in their room when it comes to the commercials that they're coming, how could they really be paying attention to what my story is as a Black person? And that's why, like all the other ancestry DNAs, I'm pretty sure, yes, we did all come, a lot of us came from the slave trade in Africa, but like, I'm like, there is no real, like it's so vague. It's so vague all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
I used it as like, okay, so this is some interesting information, and then took it to my family and was like, what part of this feels true to you? Mm-hmm. Like, what gaps can you fill in for me? So like I said, like my grandma's from Shreveport. So like, okay, all right, I will give you the part where we migrated to Louisiana. Check. Like, fine, I'll give it to, but yeah, I kind of used it as this like template. Mm-hmm. I think if I, like, there are folks who like do genealogy on there and like have very serious, like thorough research, like family trees and stuff. I think if I got more into that, I could probably firm up. And it's the people who do that are providing the quote unquote data that Ancestry.com is then like, so this was likely your migration and pattern or track, like whatever, because this is what we typically see from folks of similar DNA background. It was all a very interesting story. It was like a Christmas present I gave myself. Like, this will be like a fun treat. Like, maybe we'll learn. Like, I got one for my grandma also. And when she did hers, she came back 1% Polynesian and would not shut up about it. Like my grandma, like she knows who she is. She lives in the house that her father built in the town that he helped found. Like we know, like my mom's side, we know a lot about like their lineage and like where people came from. So it's not like my grandma was like yearning for connection, but I was like, this will be a fun thing for her. Like she is very into genealogy and like, as I think it's like an only child thing of like preserving like our family, like narrative. And so I got it for her for Christmas. And when she got the results, she called me and she was like, I got my results. And I was like, great. Like read them to me. Skipped over everything straight to, Serita, did you know that I'm 1% Polynesian? And I was like, no. Why would I know that? How would I know that?
Did she like immediately sign on to take hula lessons or something?
Oh,
was she,
well,
like,
she was ready to be
in?
like, we're taking, I mean, she was like, we're going to take a trip. Like she was like ready to do a whole thing. And I was like, ma'am, I'm not saying no. Let's go. Let's get some Polynesian food, whatever you want. But I
gotta learn about your culture.
Yeah, that's basically what she said. She's a history teacher, so she was like, we've got to learn. And I was like, okay, we have to.
I mean, you could pick worse places to have to learn about.
Oh, fully. I was like, I mean, if you just want to go on a vacation, just say you want to go on a vacation.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just like claim it. Yeah.
Like I know that like it is my like one of my like life travel goals to go to Nigeria and to spend time there, but also like to do like to go to where the slave trades were and like do the whole cultural piece of it and like be really heartbroken and devastated because I already know like a lot of feelings, but then also just like spend time in Nigeria because it's a cool country and like I know it's somewhere I didn't need a DNA test to tell me that was somewhere that I wanted to visit. Now I just kind of get to be a little bit of an asshole and be like, well, I'm from here. So
that's an interesting thing. Cause like I remembered when I went to Ghana and Janelle, maybe you can talk to this too if you had experience. But I remember when I was in Ghana and just being there and feeling such an outsider, but it was like weird because in my mind, it's just like, no, you're supposed to feel like you're from here because you're from here. And then people are like, yeah, my sister, you're from here. I'm like, no, I'm not from, that's not really my country. I don't really fuck with y'all like that.
Not really,
you know?
Interesting. I didn't have that experience with the my sister part. I felt very much like an outsider and I was told I was an outsider.
Oh. Well, I think maybe because you were with a school, like with NYU, so maybe that was
even when I wasn't because I separated myself from the group. I spent a lot of time throughout the community. I actually tried to acclimate myself into the community for that reason.
And they wouldn't accept you?
There came a time where, I absolutely was accepted, but I had a lot of experiences on my own where I was told I was called a Brubini, or I was told that like I just was American. I'm Black American, like I'm not African. And so that, it's very interesting. But eventually, I mean, I made friends there. I gained a community. And so that became a thing. It was a very much like I didn't expect to feel that sense of disconnect when I got there.
Wow, yeah, that's so. I was on the other side where they're like Aquaba and all of the things, and I'm just like, chill out. I literally was like, they were giving me like yams and stuff for breakfast, and I was like, I want waffles, please.
I did not ask for this. Thank you.
That's amazing. Did you feel, Serita, when you got those results back, like did you have a deeper connection to spirituality? Like, did that change your spiritual perspective?
I think yes and no. So, like, the Louisiana part in particular was probably the biggest, like, aha out of all of it. Of, like, oh, there might be some truth, some weight to this. And my dad's side, I am less familiar with than my mom's side. And so anytime I learn more about that side of my family, it's always a big, exciting kind of moment. And like, I know, like, my grandma, my dad's mom, she passed when I was a freshman in college, and she has been a huge guide for me and a big, like, I always call her the ringleader of my spirits. And so, and the more I learn about her and her spiritual practice that I just wasn't aware of because I was a kid, and like, I don't know, kids are narcissists. And
yep. They also couldn't kill you. Apparently.
Kids who kill. Let's bring it back. But yeah, just like stuff that I wasn't aware of, and knowing that she had a very deep spiritual and magic practice that she learned from her ancestors, and like knowing that that is part of the culture of Louisiana for Black folks who are there, of this preservation of our mysticism that we brought over to survive. Our magic was what helped us survive. And so I think that was probably the biggest like spiritual piece that came from it. Like, again, there wasn't this moment where I was like, oh, and now that I know that I'm Nigerian, I'm going to go learn all about like Yoruba and like learn all about like African like practices. This is similar to what you were talking about with going to Ghana, with like going to Ghana and immediately people wanting to be like, but you're one of us, right? And it's like, whoa. I lived a different life. And I'm trying to just like settle in, and particularly with like traditional African practices, like I find myself wanting to be really drawn to them and like getting really deep into them and going through initiations. And like, I mean, it's a whole thing. It's years of work and all of that. And then every single time, I don't know what I think it's a personal block. I don't know. Every single time I'm like, okay, today is going to be the day that I start reading this thing, or I take this class, or I do this thing. I just get so overwhelmed, and I'm just like, oh, right. I didn't grow up learning this. This isn't innate to me. I'm going to take a step back actually and like figure something else out. And so like, I think of my own spiritual journey and practice is very like hodgepodge of different origins, different modalities. And again, the more that I learn, like I know that the women on my mom's side tend to at the least be sensitive, at the most are clairvoyant. And so like, that's like really cool to like know about. And like, as I think about how my own gifts have like shown up for me. And again, I don't know a ton about my dad's side other than my grandma. And all I know is that she was a secret witch from the bayou. She was a secret witch from the bayou. That's about all I got.
That's great. I would say that is fertile ground to work with.
Oh yeah. I'm not mad about it. Like there is some richness in there, but right. It's like, it's not like I have like this, where it's like, oh, she practiced this specific type of thing. And like, I come from a line of these types of practitioners, or even just like I had a relative that was this type of practice, and that's what I gravitated to. Like I very much have this sort of just like collage of different practices, that just finding what works for me. Like I was in Al-Anon for a bit, and they always say you take what works and leave the rest. And so like, taking what works for me of different practices, of open practices anyways. I'm very respectful of closed practices. Taking what works and kind of leaving the rest. And I feel like that is kind of indicative of the Black American experience of not knowing. This is obviously a sweeping statement, and we are not a monolith, and people have different experiences, all the caveats. But a lot of us not knowing like where we came from in terms of ancestry and lineage, and not being able to trace that back in some way, we hodgepodge together the different cultures that are around us and create the Black experience. Like the Black experience is not a monolith, because we are all having these different, picking up all of these different things and figuring out what works for us, what doesn't work, what we connect to, what we don't connect to. And that shifts with the individual, with the community, with the region, and like so on and so forth. And so all of this to say, to answer your question, I think there was a little bit of a like, oh, okay, we have a confirmation for what was a fuzzy piece, like the family coming from Louisiana. So, okay, so we've got, like, I have a story and I have some pseudoscience. And if you put them together, it's enough confirmation to feel firm in that information. Because my dad has also passed. So like, I don't have an immediate connection to that side of my family anymore. Like I still talk to like aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff, but like, it's not like I can just call, like with my mom, I can just call my mom and be like, hey, and my grandma's like a low key hoarder and be like, can you dig up this thing? And she's like, yeah, so she lives in the house that my great grandfather built. And within the last 5 years had to get the front door replaced because it was so warped. It wasn't like closing anymore because it was the original piece of wood that was put in.
This door's 100 years old.
Basically, it's been here forever. But so when she got it replaced, she kept it. It's in one of the back rooms that like we don't use anymore. And I'm like, what are you going to do with this for? What are you doing?
I mean, to her point, it's pretty cool.
It is
very cool.
Symbolic.
Yeah, I would have kept the door too.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, you should get it made into like a table or like get it like you should like use the wood to like make something.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't happened, I guess. And so she blames me for having an old door for like 2 years. She's like, well, Serita, you're the one who told me to keep it. I was like, I did not tell you to keep it. I told you to turn it into something else. To repurpose
it.
Yeah, I said to repurpose it. You heard keep it.
I have a question, Serita.
You
said earlier that you felt overwhelmed. What did you feel overwhelmed by specifically?
Yeah.
As it pertains to like the spirituality aspect.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah.
I think what's hard is, especially because like traditional like African practices, they're closed practices. So there's it's almost, easy isn't the right word, but it's almost, there's a clear path of like how you navigate through the magic and how you learn and how you like get information, because it is this closed practice that has very specific rules, parameters, whatever you want to call it.
Wait, when you say closed, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah. So when I say closed, I mean you have to be initiated in. Like anyone can learn about them, but to be able to call yourself a practitioner, you have to be initiated in. And in order to get initiated, that is a lengthy, studious process of literal like learning and like not really like test taking, but like mentorship. You are mentored by someone and they are helping you grow and learn, but you can only learn certain things with this mentor. Like it's not like tarot where anyone can just pick it up.
Yeah. So many closed practices, like they're closed because there's no books about them. There's no like course you can go take. It's like it's passed down orally or through like experiential, obviously experiences. So they're really cool, and you have to be sort of like accepted into them, allowed, or like given permission to study them.
Yeah.
Is that also to protect it and keep it from people,
fully, right? It's
white people. Yeah.
It's maybe the more wholesome version of gatekeeping, for lack of better word. Gatekeeping's got like a pretty negative connotation on it.
It's like keeping something sacred, I think. That's the way I think about it.
Word. Yeah.
Of like, just like religion, like you don't just like say, in Christianity, I guess you're just like, I'm Christian now. But like in Judaism, you have to go study and you have to go ask like 3 times and get turned down 3 times.
Like Catholicism, you have to like there's process and ritual and this goes to a greater. Too. Yeah, right. And this takes that to a greater extent because there's a whole lot in there that none of us know unless you're a practitioner. And so while that feels like, okay, like I don't necessarily have to muddy my way through this like you do with open practices of figuring it out. That was very intimidating and overwhelming to me because there is so much history that is present at all times because it is through oral telling, because it is through experiences. Like that's a lot to hold. And like that quite honestly terrified me. And I was like, I just don't think I'm ready. I don't know if I will be ready, and I need to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I know this is something I've been personally experiencing of, there's this whole conversation about like returning to like our native magic. And part of that being out of not wanting to appropriate and take on something that's not for us. And part of that also coming from wanting to connect with our, whether it's our ancestry, our community, or whatever, to connect. And I think that's beautiful and lovely, but it's also really hard when you don't know what that is.
Right.
Like even if we just like remove the like race piece out of this, just like, what if you're the first witch in your family who's like been like out and practicing? Like, how, I don't know what's mine. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of also what was really overwhelming by it, where I was just like, I don't think that I am ready to hold all of this. And I don't even know if I want to hold all of this, and having to do my own work to become okay with that. Like, is this some kind of, I definitely had a lot of feelings of like, is this some kind of betrayal? Is this some kind of me stepping away from my true, quote unquote, true magic? And a lot of my work, just in general, personal work, is having to recognize and be okay with like, sometimes we make our own paths, and that's all right. Like, my archetype is very much the outlaw. And so like my life's mission is to forge paths where there aren't paths. And it's a lot. Sometimes I'm like, hell yeah, like, let's do this. Like, we're going to change things. We're going to make something new. And other times I'm like, can someone just give me a how-to guide? Because I'm tired.
You're like, I don't want to cut down another road. I don't want to find another pathway by myself.
Don't make me do it. This is hard.
Yeah, clearly your grandfather knows, and that's why you're going to take down.
I'm going to take down tattoos, bringing it back.
Exactly.
He's like, you'll find it.
Do you know your human design?
I don't know my human design, actually. It's like the
or
next
if
thing.
You subscribe to it. Yeah. Cause I know some people are like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
I
Via Michelle have been learning more about it. And I think it's so fascinating. Here's my thing. Anything that helps you better understand yourself and the way you work in the world is of benefit. You can put as much value and weight into it as you choose. Again, take what you like, leave the rest. But like, if it will just make you a better person, then like fucking do it. Like, who am I to tell you that it's not real and it doesn't work? Like, no, that like, look, I don't have the energy to tell people how to live their lives. I can barely tell myself how to live my life.
Yeah.
Like, if it just makes you function better, and if it allows you to have a sense of understanding of a world that we don't understand. Like, this is one of the things I love about astrology is it's grounded in the planets. Like, you can't deny planets. They are there. They are real. They move.
Other than Pluto, which we keep gaslighting.
Poor little Pluto. I actually think about Pluto.
I feel so bad.
I think about Pluto so much.
I think about
thank you.
I think more than like
Mars.
100%.
Always. I'm like, Pluto, are you okay? Is this why you fuck with us all the time?
We do love you. We
Pluto,
love you.
you matter. You do matter.
Pluto matters. I'm just like, wow. Could you imagine like being ruled by a maybe planet? Like, what? No. Like, Leo, I'm lucky. I've got the sun. No one's denying that. But like, poor little Pluto.
Could you imagine being given the status of planet and then having that taken away? That's
Like, you already had the farthest, the coldest, the saddest planet.
The grayest.
And now it's not a planet. Or
well, see, no, that's what they tell us. They tell us it's not a planet. And that's why I still fuck with Pluto, because I'm like, you know what? You can decide if you want to be a planet or not, because you make your own decisions.
Exactly.
And that's why I fuck with Pluto, because it's like, you know what? I don't really know what terms we're on, like where you stand right now, but I know you're real and I fucking with you.
Yes. Pluto's
a real one.
Ride or die.
Pluto's a real one.
Pluto is going to keep showing up and doing what they do, and I have no choice but to stand. I respect it. I love it. And back to this whole thing about astrology is it's like, it's there. No matter how you classify it, it's there, and it moves and it shifts and it's navigating the solar system, whatever you want to call it. Is your choice, your prerogative. And so you can put as much weight into astrology as you want. I am someone who puts a lot of weight into astrology and have lately been keeping time and making choices based on what's going on with the stars, which has been really fun to get into. But at the end of the day, I'm like, cool, this thing is grounded in planets. and stars and meteors and comets and things, like real, tangible, can feel them things. And that feels really great to ground my day to day in, because as an Aquarius rising, it's very easy to just go somewhere else.
Wait, excuse me. Leo with Aquarius rising and
I was just going to say,
Capricorn?
are you crazy?
Yes.
Are you?
I am, I'll just fill in the gaps. I'm a Leo sun and moon and an Aquarius rising.
Oh.
My Venus is in Leo. My Mars is in Taurus. My
Me too.
Mercury, it's a fun.
It's fun.
Don't cross me.
It's a big physical aggression is what we're about.
Yes. I won't say I've never thrown and broken a glass before.
I won't say I've never thrown and broken a phone when a guy didn't text me back. So there we go.
And it was definitely over a partner. I had it's fine. A Venus and Leo, I have a lot of big feelings about love. And I love love. And I also don't want to be crossed.
Do not.
I loved when you said that. You're like, don't cross me in brackets.
FYI. Gentle. Let it lure you into a false sense of security. My Mercury's in Virgo, which I personally love because it makes me a very effective communicator, which is important when you have a air rising. I need that Mercury to work for me and to like cut to the point and just get the words out of my mouth. But like all my other planets are in, Leo and Capricorn.
Wow.
So you've got like Capricorn, Saturn, Capricorn, Jupiter.
Yes. I just finished my Saturn's return. Thank God.
Yeah, we're the same. You and I are the same. We must be around the same age.
Yes.
That
and
that
for those of you going through it,
good luck and Godspeed, y'all. But like that Capricorn, Saturn, Jupiter is does not fuck around.
No.
It is all about just like working your ass off.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. I think lots of therapy has softened it a little bit and realizing that I don't have to work all the time to prove my value. I mean, that's also capitalism, right?
Right. A little bit of a 1-2 punch there.
Yeah, exactly.
Astrology and
I was not set up for success in that department. But like to bring all this back, it's like I love using astrology in particular. Like that's been the modality that I have been deeply in on kind of a day-to-day lately, of using it to shape my day, shape my week, shape my month, and really help inform decisions. And I find it helpful in not only just like, okay, this is like useful information to have, but like being able to ground in something concrete. Like I love tarot and I go to the cards regularly for information, for insight, but they're not exactly direct. like the cards are never like, yes, this thing will happen. I mean, I've said this before. The tarot doesn't tell the future. It just gives us options and potential outcomes based on the decisions we're making, good, bad, and different. But sometimes I just want someone to, again, I'm tired of making new roads. I just want a how-to guide and someone to tell me what to do and when it's going to happen. I also am very impatient. Surprise, surprise. And I just want to be told when I'm going to get what I want. There's that Mars and Taurus flaring up.
Yeah. I wonder if you're an MG in human design. I'm just curious. We need to do like
we'll send you, send us your birth info, because I have a genetic matrix account, which is a paid account, so I can pull up all your info.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's very useful, especially, I mean, MGs are great. We love an MG. Wallace is an MG. Janelle's a generator.
Yeah.
So they're kind of similar. They've got shade. They're like, on the same wavelength. But I loved what you said about just like the best practices not making you an asshole. Like anything that helps you not be an asshole. I feel like that should really be our barometer in the wellness and well-being space. Like, does this make you an asshole? Like more of a jerk? Then you probably shouldn't do it.
No, then it's
like,
a cult. Get out.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, why are you doing it? Like, I feel like people who read tarot sometimes are just like, actually just jerks. And they're like,
it's like you just wanted a platform to drag people and you aren't actually trying to offer
exactly.
Oh,
just
no.
like come out and say it that you don't like them. Like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's okay. I bet they can handle it more than whatever it is that you're giving them right now.
right.
And I promise it'll take way less energy to just like get it out. But I think even like I mentioned this in the beginning, like in politics, there are a lot of assholes. Surprising. But I've noticed the more that so a quick background. Before coming into this executive director role, I worked for the Texas Democratic Party as the Black constituency organizer, doing organizing within the Black community across the state. And before that, I was in Los Angeles working predominantly in advocacy for folks experiencing homelessness. So a lot of like local level politics on big issues. And for a long time was like, I can't let people know that I'm a witch. Like, I can't let people know. I mean, there's the general fear of like acceptance and like, will people like think I'm a weirdo? Like whatever. Yeah. But even so, I was like, I won't be taken seriously in this space if I'm not talking about like hard data, concrete facts, like things that people can see, feel, experience, like whatever. Like there's no way that I will be taken seriously. And as a Black woman, my one goal in life is to be taken seriously. And so I hid it for a long time, and it was very much like my like secret private practice. And probably in this last year have been much more vocal and open about it. Like when I was with the party, I was on the constituency team, and for one of our like team bondings, I had us all pull up our charts and talk about our Mercury sign because like we have to communicate and talk to each other. And I was like, again, you can believe as much of this as you want. You can say that this is all fucking bullshit. I don't care. I definitely have gotten to a place with my practice where I'm like, I'm not here to convince you. Like, and I think that's only because I've gotten to that place as a person of I'm not here to convince you that I am worthy and that I have value. Like I can't waste my time on that. Like I have so many other thoughts and things to do. So like I just got to keep it pushing. But I was like, like you can take this for a grain of salt, believe as much as you want. But at the very least, it's a fun way for us to get to know each other better. And even if you're like, I think this is fucking bullshit, I now have learned a thing about you. So
you're a Capricorn Aquarius. Yeah.
Well, not wrong. You're only proving my point.
Right, exactly.
But just becoming more open and vocal about like, no, these are like, quote unquote mystical tools that I use in my everyday and my day to day. Like when I have to do call time and talk to people about money, I burn a like money magic candle and put on my money oil because like I need those dollars to roll in. Like again, it's like if it makes you a better person, lean into it. If it helps you to, even if it's purely like just like a placebo effect and it's not doing anything, whatever, it's still making me better at my job.
It's so like having a walk-up song. Like why wouldn't you have a great walk-up song? Like if it makes you feel good. Like
weird. All right, let's talk about this for a minute. Those weirdos have walk-up songs, have rituals of
they are witches. Professional athletes are witches.
And I'm like, just admit it. Like, you won, so now you have to wear the same pair of socks every single time you play. Like that's disgusting. And witchcraft. I don't understand why we're pretending like it's not.
Wow, I've never thought about it like that before. Actually, that's a really great point.
They're witches, I promise you.
It's true. And when their superstition verges over into the dark side, and when it makes them an asshole is when it's not useful anymore.
When they start rigging things, when they start lying, like
Tom Brady.
I mean, he sold his soul.
I don't know.
Right?
Oh my God.
I mean, he did sell his soul 100%. I mean,
he was a part of Deflategate, so I know very little about sports.
I was going to say, I don't know. I feel like we're veering into territory that I am uncomfortable in, which is sports.
I want to be clear. I'm not going to have much more to offer.
This is about it.
Yeah. I'm just going to listen.
Right. Can I phone a friend?
Okay, I have a plug for. Have you guys ever listened to La Culturistas with Boeing Yang and
from SNL?
Yeah, their podcast is so good. And 2 weeks ago, they had a segment called I Don't Think So, Honey. And it was all about Tom Brady. And I was like, yes, this is so We can link to that, just dragging Tom Brady of why I don't think so, honey. Tom Brady does not need to be talked about anymore.
Yeah, there was just one weird moment with his son. That's the only thing that I know about Tom Brady.
That stresses
ever given
me
me.
out.
Yeah. Where it's just like, I don't know about anymore.
I don't love it.
The Trump of it all with him.
Oh, yeah. Can we stop forgetting that he's a Trump supporter?
What?
Yeah, he is a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
He wiped that from the internet real fast.
Michelle's face.
He did. Yeah.
I mean, okay, now, you know, I do think like at least once a week about how Tom Brady doesn't eat nightshades. I think about it a lot. Like, I think about it a lot.
Okay, I will say I did.
He made a big deal about that.
Yeah.
I didn't eat nightshades for like a month, but it's because I was they're really acidic and I was having terrible like heartburn and indigestion and needed to like reset my body.
Yeah.
But I worked really hard not to talk about it because no one gives a fuck about nightshades.
Yeah, no, literally.
What are nightshades?
And like tomatoes, peppers,
other things.
Yes.
I don't know.
There's sneaky acidity that can show up in your diet. And if you have a delicate system, sometimes they're not your friend. I don't know what Tom Brady's thing is. My acupuncturist was, again, more things that not everyone believes in. I love acupuncture. But my acupuncturist, which if you're in LA.
Mine was like, that's not a thing.
I'm in LA, tell me.
Her name is Portia, Deeper Genius Acupuncture. She is a Black queer woman who I fucking love. And I was having like my doctor was like, you have an autoimmune disease. And I was like, okay, what do we do about this? And they were like, well, we can't figure out which autoimmune
They're like, nothing. What? You're just going to
suffer. Fully. They were like, we can't figure out which one. Yeah. I can give you a prescription for this medicine that could make you go blind. You want? And I was like, no. Like she was like, you're going to have to go get your eyes checked before we put you on it and then get them checked every 6 months to make sure that you're not going blind. And I was like, oh my God. It feel like a solution and I'm just in pain all the time. So and now I'm in pain and running into doors. So like and so, you know, we got to find a solution. That's not this. I like did the whole second opinion thing and they again were like, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you just have a high autoimmune factor for fun. Side note, women, the super fun, especially Black women, Black femmes, tend to have a higher autoimmune factor because it is also related to stress.
Stress,
ramp that right on up.
Mm-hmm. And epigenetic stress and trauma too can increase.
Exactly. Which I had to discover on Reddit, not from my doctor.
Honestly, Reddit is the front page of my internet. It is my favorite website. I love Reddit, and I've loved Reddit for like the past 5 years.
Curing diseases and tanking the stock market. I support it.
Listen, we love a multi-hyphenate website.
Truly. And when I was still in LA, I was also doing birth work. So I was a birth and postpartum doula and reached out to some of my like doula friends who I knew are into holistic medicine. I was like, does anyone know something that will fix me and make me feel better? And they recommended this acupuncturist to me. I cannot say more good things about Portia. She's just amazing. Low key, like was my therapist a little bit. And I would just be like, hi, like grad school is really stressful. Like I would just like word vomit and she'd be like, okay, we're going to put pins in here, here, and here. And then I just an hour later felt better. And I was like, I don't know. She is definitely a witch. I was like, I don't know what witchcraft you're doing while I'm on the table, but like keep it coming. And she takes insurance, which like that's another witchcraft I don't understand. And apparently this turned into the Portia podcast, but I get bringing it back to like, there is this false belief that if it isn't quote unquote mainstream, then there must be something wrong with it, something questionable, something not quite right. And I had never done acupuncture or cupping before in my life. And quite honestly was a little like skeptical of like, but does this work? Until I had kind of no choice but to figure out an alternative to what I was told would work, was supposed to be the thing that worked. I did not take the medicine that might make you go blind. Right? Like, how is this a solution? This can't be the solution, everyone.
Crazy.
No. And I kind of bringing it back to what I was talking about earlier of I think we have to relieve some of this pressure of if I'm going to do something, it has to be the right something, and I have to do it in the right way. And like with my magic practice, where I was like, I have to figure these things out. And it's like, oh, or I could just find what speaks to me and what heals me, what makes me feel better, what supports me, and just go with that. Like, just lean into that. Right. Like, can I explain anything about acupuncture to you? Absolutely not. But can I say that I felt significantly better and later found out that we were mitigating some underlying issues that I didn't know I had? Absolutely, I can. Mm-hmm. So like, it works. I don't know. I can't. Don't make me explain this.
I couldn't describe how like when I was on an anti-seizure medication, I don't really know like the chemical processes of like how the anti-seizure medication worked. And like, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. You know, like
my psychiatrist, I really like the psychiatrist I have. She's all about it being this like conversation and figuring out your care and like everything, which I love. But she tries her hardest to explain to me how my meds work. And I take an antidepressant, and we're transitioning meds right now for my ADHD and figuring out what's going to be the one. But the ADHD part has been like a year-long process to figuring out what's going to be the best solution for me.
I want to talk to you about that.
Oh, we absolutely can. Because again, Reddit has actually provided a lot of information.
I feel like Reddit and TikTok are doing the Lord's work. TikTok and ADHD.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
It wasn't TikTok because I got diagnosed before TikTok, but it was through the internet that I figured out I had ADHD and had it my entire life.
Wow.
It is shocking, underdiagnosed in women, even more underdiagnosed in like femmes of color.
And probably super high performing people too. You just like.
Yes. And I have always had a ton of anxiety, and that meant that I had to do well all the time. So like when I told my mom, she was like, yeah, you were just always fine. So I didn't think it mattered. And I was like, I wasn't fine, ma'am.
Oh my gosh. My parents too. My middle brother was like the problem child. And I was like, well, you're fine.
And I was like, I'm not fine. She's not fine. But she's fine now. But anyways, my psychiatrist will try to explain to me like how my meds work. And she'll be like, okay, we're going to try this thing because it goes to this part of the brain, which affects this thing and does da-da-da-da-da. And I can just feel my eyes glaze over. And I always tell her, I go, Alex, I really appreciate you like walking me through this. I still don't know what you told me, and I would prefer it if you didn't repeat it.
Like, yeah, I'm not going to get it.
So I'm not going to get it. So now she just kind of goes, we're going to try this one because it's going to help you with this part of your life. And I'm like, great, that I can get that in, and I understand it. And all of that to say, I take my fucking meds every day religiously because they help. And they make me better. They make me happy. They make me function, like all the things. And so just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop taking them. Mm-hmm. Like I have not taken my meds, and it's been very rough, and I don't want to do it and I don't have to do it. And so while I don't fully understand acupuncture, it worked. I don't fully understand all of these different mystical practices, but I know what information I'm getting, and that information is working. And I am just going to keep trusting that and believing that until it doesn't work. And then we try something different. Like I really wanted to get into pendulums. Like I really, really wanted to get into pendulums. And I was like, they're so cool, and they can do yes or no questions, and like they're great for like a quick check-in. And
Aww.
Yeah, I made one out of floss because
I love it so much.
That's great.
Like I got this like beautiful turquoise. Like
that's beautiful.
I was like, I want to just be a pendulum gal. And every fucking time I try to work with a pendulum, I end up more confused than when I started. And it's because there's too much information going on inside for me to be able to, I don't know if it's for me to be able to trust what I think the pendulum is saying, for me to be able to clearly communicate. Like it's not.
Your pendulum's like, I'm alive, but I'm dead. You
know? Oh, cool. My pendulum's like, hey, I'm here. Yes, I'll answer your questions. Like, what's up? And then you have to decide which answer you want to receive. Like
it's like, yes, but not in that way. But yes, if you do this, but not probably if you try tomorrow. So the answer is yes, but no.
And then it's like, what are you asking me, pendulum? What are you asking me?
Yeah, the pendulum's then just spinning because it doesn't know what I want. Because
Make up your mind.
Like pendulums are so affected by like just the energy that we're giving, and like there's chaotic. This is, look, I say it all the time. I used to be chaotic evil, and I have transitioned into chaotic neutral, and on a good day, chaotic good. Like we all have a past, and. The pendulum can feel that chaotic energy, and it's just like, girl, I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're looking for. I don't know what answer to get. What answer will make you put me down?
Right.
Like it's basically what it says.
I don't know what you want me to say. You're in danger? I don't know.
Like I don't know. And it's just, I have to accept that like, we're just not a pendulum person. And that's,
not right
we
now.
tried,
and that's
we gave,
okay.
You're right. And it's totally not right now. Maybe at some point we will be, who knows? But like, if you keep trying to do this,
you're going to break that pendulum.
Oh, it's going to get thrown, and then that can't be good karma. Like, who knows what I'll unleash? Like, yeah, like just for everyone's best interest, like that's not our magic, and that's okay. I think also just like being a practitioner who gets read by others, who watches other practitioners, it's like, oh, like they do that, I want to do this. Like I saw this person do this thing, like I should try to figure that out. Like to be a real practitioner, like that has to be the way that I do it. And that's a scam. That's a lie of capitalism. That's a lie of like these big clunky systems that convince us that the only way that you have value is to constantly be outdoing someone or something. And it's like, again, like going back to like my archetype being the outlaw, it's like my uniqueness is always going to be the thing that serves me. Like my niche, like my specific, my Aquarius rising specific interests are always going to be the thing that serve my highest good, because that's the path I'm on, baby. Like that's all I got.
Yeah. And that's also, that reminds me of like accumulation is so so much what we learn in capitalism, right? Of like,
I just need all the things.
Yes, I need to get all the certifications. I have to like have all the letters behind my name or use all the tools all in one sitting. And like more is not always more. Better is more. And so like what works best for you in this moment? What is better for, not even best, what is better for you in this moment?
Yeah.
And like being able to change your mind about that.
Like I, in true Pisces season, am like jonesing for a training, a class, a something, like very much just like, oh, but I need to learn about this dreamy, like mystical thing. And every single time I see something come up, I'm like, oh, is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? And I finally had to stop myself and be like, none of them are going to be the one with this energy. None of them are going to be the one, because you're either going to try to take all of them and not actually learn a single thing and spend way too much money, or you're just going to become system overwhelmed and not do anything about it, because welcome to an avoidant attachment style. And so like just whatever this that you're bringing into this is not going to be it. So why don't you maybe just keep in the back of your mind that you would like to learn something fun this month. And then when something sounds fun, do that thing.
Wow. So as a Pisces, I feel a bit dragged right now because you did just describe my internal monologue all the time of like, I should take that class. I should also take that class. Maybe I should go to get my PhD in mythology. Literally conversations that I'm having all the time.
Yes. And that's what we love about Pisces is they bring us so many options and they bring us choice. And like Pisces season also brings us this like desire and this need to not even level up, just explore new and explore like what ifs. And then if you just keep going into it though, and every sign
you will drown.
You will drown. Yeah. Like I always have to remind myself that fire burns. Like it keeps you warm and it will burn if you don't rein it in. Like, like I have to remind myself my fire can turn into a wildfire and that's not good. And so I have to rein it in. And Pisces, they bring us all these beautiful gifts. And if you go too deep with anything, you'll drown. Like,
and if you have children, they might kill you.
Never forget. Children who kill.
Everything's got a dark side. Everything does.
Everything does.
It's all duality, my friend.
Yeah.
Shadow.
I would love to know, just on the topic of like you going after things versus things kind of finding you, I would love to know a little bit more about how tarot or Reiki or even like your Akashic readings, how those things came to find you.
Totally. Almost all by accident. So Akashic records, the Akashic readings, that was my very first foray into magic and mysticism, which in hindsight is wild.
You went deep.
Yeah,
you were like, let me go with the most culty of all things.
I did.
That's so Aquarius rising.
Yes, I was like, oh yeah, let's do this. I had been out of treatment. I was in treatment for an eating disorder at one point and had been out of treatment for a little bit and was still like going to therapy and everything, but feeling kind of stuck in my growth and my progress and my healing, and was like, okay, like we spent all this time identifying all my trauma and now I'm just figuring out how to cope with it. But also like, I just feel like I'm just sitting here holding a lot of trauma. So now what? And a friend recommended a Akashic reader who also does cranial sacral.
Wow.
When I say I went in deep, like, her name's Kat Barker. She's in LA in the Silver Lake area. I love Kat. We're like still friends, like to this day. But my friend was like, look, I was feeling similarly. I went and saw this person and it just really helped me like figure out just take the next step. And I was like, cool, great. I will give you all my money. I will give you whatever you want. Just fix this. And so I went over to like she has like this gorgeous little apartment in Silver Lake right off the reservoir, and it's all covered in plants, and like such a witch lives there. Like it's so dreamy. And the way she works usually is she'll do your records and then she'll get you on her table and do some energy work. So it's basically like, let's figure out what wants to come up and then we're going to go process it on the table, which I loved. And she opened my records and the first thing she said was, this has never happened before. I was like, uh-oh.
I just got chills.
You were like, yes.
I was still very insecure. So I was like, did I break it? Am I broken? Is there nothing?
Are the records broken?
Is the history of my soul terrible? You're right. I'm terrible. She was like, no, normally, and Michelle, you probably have experienced this. Normally when it comes through, it's just sort of like the collective voice of your guides comes through and you say what they say and whatever. But for me, my grandma immediately came through and she was the only one. And she like had this like beautiful, loving message for me. And when I say I cried, like I like have not cried that hard. I don't know ever. Like it was like, like those juicy.
Like a release. Yeah.
Yes. They're just like, okay. And then Kat has to like get me onto her table. I'm just like a puddle. And she did some cranial sacral on me. And like, I don't even know how to describe what the experience felt like, other than I know when I left, I could physically feel a like click had happened. Like something had like locked in. And I was like, oh, what are this? And so saw Kat a few more times. We ended up becoming friends and I did a whole like training with her on cranial sacral and Akashic readings and like blending the two. And like, it was this like,
cranial sacral is no joke.
Cranial sacral,
what is that? I don't know what that
intense. So it is a form of physical energy healing. And literally all a person is doing is putting one hand on the back of your head, like sort of at the base of your neck, and then one hand like in the small of your back. And somehow, I wish I could explain more of how it works. It's like there's something about aligning this like head and sacral space. Like if you're like into chakras, so it's like this is your security space, this is your vulnerability space, of just connecting those two in a way that like whatever's going to come up is going to come up. And it's like, we're going to physically process and move this energy out. And like, and I've seen other practitioners do this too. Like we'll sort of talk to you as it's going of like, what are you feeling? What's coming up? Who are you? Cause sometimes like for me, my child self would come up a lot because the inner child work. Right. And so like, I like fully was just like, and I'm 5 and I don't want you to leave me. Like I could like feel like my voice. And like afterwards I was like, Pat, did you experience the same thing I experienced? Like, was that like a dream?
Was that weird for you?
Yeah, like
me?
and she was like, I've seen it all. No. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's comforting. But if you've ever had Reiki, I think of it as like a deeper soul level of that. If you haven't had Reiki, Reiki is another energy healing modality, and it's all about serving your highest good. So sometimes that's emotional healing, sometimes that's physical healing that can show up, and it tends to just feel like a warm, calming sensation in your body.
I feel like
something will move along.
Cranial sacral is kind of like a less problematic version of Reiki, because Reiki is like appropriative and in a lot of ways, like it's really beautiful practice if it's your practice, but like maybe if you're a white practitioner, it might be like interesting.
Cranial sacral is a great alternative to that and can do some beautiful healing.
Yeah, it sounds like, considering where it's placed, like it messes with like the Kundalini energy.
Yes.
Like is where all of that sort of awareness is. Yeah.
All the same. It's like all these things are somewhat similar. Same thing with like the Akashic records. Like, you know?
Like they're all different paths to similar things. Again, figuring out what works for you. I learned cranial sacral and then I learned Reiki, and I found that I preferred Reiki because it was easier for me to have a boundary. Because that's the other thing with cranial sacral is if you don't have good emotional and energetic boundaries, you are experiencing what that person is experiencing on the table. And sometimes that's that face. Sometimes that is like some fucked shit, like that this person's been carrying around. And so I was like, cranial sacral was really hard for me because it was very easy to find similar issues and then just watch the two of us play them out. Let's talk about some exes.
That's going to be another podcast. I feel as if very strongly we need to have a spiritual breakups podcast where we talk about breakups and how they like, and the spiritual elements of them.
Cord cutting. Let's get into it.
Okay. Yes. We'll put it on the calendar.
If you just cut the cord, it doesn't work.
No. And if you want to cut the cord, but you don't actually want to cut the cord, then it also doesn't work.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
They feel it.
Or
they
get secret married and move to Bermuda. That's another story.
Okay. Wow.
I don't want that to happen.
Oh my God. That spoiler. That was amazing. Okay. I can't wait to record this podcast.
We're seeing up this podcast.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the next one. But Wallace, in answer to your question, I first found Akashic Records and just immediately fell in love with like the possibility and the ease. Like there's the training, and Michelle, I'm sure you can talk to this. The training of Akashic Records reading isn't about how do I read or like how do I do the thing. It's like how do I do this respectfully? How do I do this consciously? How do I learn how to share and what not to share? And like what does that feel like in my own body as I'm reading? Like you have to learn and grow the skill of like how to do it ethically and like in a helpful way, because you're just getting so much information and you've got to learn how to put that filter in and like whatever.
And also be honest. Like, how can I be honest and deliver? My job is to deliver this information, right? And as truthfully as I can without like absolutely ravaging someone, because the Akashic Records are like not subtle.
They are not subtle and they don't care about your feelings.
They don't have feelings because they're like, you're a human. Like, get over
we
it.
Can't relate.
Yeah, totally.
We don't understand. I don't know why you're sad about this.
Suck is kind of what they're like. Honestly.
We don't care. So fell in love with them, learned cranial sacral, realized that it was not for me just through trying to do it. I was like, I love having this happen to me. I don't like doing this. And so similar to what we said, it's like Reiki. So then I went and did a Reiki. I did level 1 and 2, and I used Reiki most often in my birth work. So working with expecting or new parents. That's because birth in America is traumatic often.
It doesn't happen.
And I predominantly worked with Black femmes, predominantly worked with low income folks. So there's all kinds of levels of pain and hurt that's there. So I used it a lot in that space of just helping these new parents or soon to be parents kind of come back to their body in a safe place, in a safe way.
Is that related to womb healing? Because I feel like I don't know a lot about womb healing, but it's been coming up a lot more recently, especially in our community in the North Node.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't
we don't realize how much trauma lives in our womb. Like it's not just because of the types of trauma that people who have wombs experience. It is also just because it's a space that's meant to hold. It's a space that's meant to be gentle, to hold something that's fragile. And so pain is fragile, trauma is fragile, and the womb's like, hey, I know how to hold that. Come on over. Sure. And it manifests in different ways. Like I deal with fibroids, and I always talk about fibroids are unprocessed trauma that my body has just like gripped onto. And so as much as I have this like physical practice that my doctor has me work, I love my current doctor. She's like this badass Black woman and like does a lot of like holistic healing along with like Western medicine. But anyways, she's in Austin, but her name is Dr. Clark Brown.
Damn it.
I know. I'm so sorry. I ran out of LA Rex. But, you know, as much as I have, I have this like, you know, physical work that I'm doing to physically help heal my body. I also have become very aware of when I'm holding on to emotions and realizing where I feel that pain in my body. And it happens to be where I have a large fibroid, and recognizing that like when I have these, lately I cry at everything, like commercials.
I heard a Celine Dion cover on TikTok yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. That feels right.
Celine.
Yeah. Also Celine.
I know. I cried on the Indeed commercial for the Super Bowl. Legitimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was this like Australian zombie movie that came out, like sort of zombie in the sense that there were zombies, but like not a zombie movie. I should be clear. And I cried at the end of it, like bawled. Yeah. Because I was just so moved by the emotional relationship going on screen. Anyways, but I feel when I have those big cries, I can physically feel part of like my uterus like unclenching and just like a little bit of release happening. And that only, I think that speaks to like that mind body connection, and something like cranial sacral can really tap into that. Reiki taps into it, but less intentionally, I think is maybe the biggest difference. Like if that's the piece of you that needs to heal and is ready to heal, Reiki will support that. If you're not ready for that though, then Reiki's like, cool, we're going to work on something else. Like I'm just here to be of service. Reiki is like, I'm just here to help.
Path of least resistance is with Reiki.
Yes,
it feels like.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great word.
Or Phoebe Bridgers. She also helps.
Yeah. Do you want to cry? Like, do you want to cry right now, or should we wait till we get off this call?
I have officially like accepted that like I am no longer like a youth. Like I would not be described as a youth. I can't figure out TikTok other than when people send me TikToks I need to read. But B, I just keep referring to it as, you know, that driver's license song. I just like, first of all, it's literally called driver's license.
I mean, at least you got the name.
Yeah.
I just get the title.
I like, you know, it's really like, it's so sweet and so sad. And
is that song, I Drive Past Your House?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Have you tried singing
God.
that song? It's impossible to sing if you don't have a good voice. It's horrible.
Get out.
It's so high. I want to sing it because I want to cry. That and the new Taylor Swift album. I've never liked Taylor Swift in like 15 years. All of a sudden, I'm a Taylor Swift fan.
Wow.
It's like
fascinating.
She has a bit of a new sound happening. I've kind of been digging her.
Is it new or just new for her?
It's new for her.
No, it's new for her. No.
Yeah.
Not new at all. But for her, it's like, I was like, I didn't know it was Taylor Swift at first. So, yeah.
I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift, if we can't tell.
Me neither. I just can't back her.
Listen, I haven't been traditionally either. I'm a Katy Perry fan. Like,
we're big Katy Perry.
I love Katy Perry.
I love her. I mean, she's definitely like, you know, she's like jumped the shark in the last couple of years for sure. But I was just like,
but Teenage Dream will always be a bop. Like,
I mean, like, I've heard of that album. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. Oh
like,
my God,
I've seen her in concert like 5 times. I've gone by myself to a Katy Perry concert. Like, that's how much I like her.
I am on track for doing that with Lizzo.
Oh my God.
But that's cool. That's cool.
Lizzo, I can get behind.
I saw her for the first time at the Fonda. So small little space.
Whoa. Like before she was famous.
She was opening for Big Frida.
Wow.
So I also got to see Big Frida, which was awesome.
Wow. Way to flex on us.
You were there from the start. We get it.
Some would say. And then my friend was going through a really bad breakup, and Lizzo was opening for Haim in Vegas. So we went to Vegas for 24 hours, stayed off the strip, and went and saw Lizzo and Haim play in like a casino.
Wow.
That's an epic Vegas trip.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, this is the version of Vegas I prefer.
Yeah.
That's the only version of Vegas I know. I've only been to Vegas once as an adult, and I went to go see a podcast recording. So
you know what? That was the best decision you could have made.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need to. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I don't think
anything.
Highly sensitive people can't go to Vegas.
It's so loud. It's so bright. Energy, it's so much.
And the moment that I'm there, I have friends who always try to invite me to Vegas. I turn it down every time. Unless there's like a really big birthday and I'm just like, okay, I'll be there for a couple of days. But the moment I step into Vegas, there's always this very apparent energy of desperation.
Yes.
That is, I can't get away from.
Yeah. As I'm driving in, there's like I go through like a warp or something. And it's just like you've entered a new world, like a whole new world.
Yeah.
I feel this way, and this is going to be a controversial statement. I feel this way about New York. I was going to say,
I feel that is sometimes how New York feels when you land at the airport in New York.
Some people love New York and can do it, and more power to you. I lived in New York for a summer and I was like, never again. Like I was just too overwhelmed all the time. It's loud. It's busy. Everyone is close to you. And I was just like, I can't.
There's
like
so
I had to keep, oh my God, I'm such a sad girl. I would keep my headphones in and I would blast Ion Square by, it's like a similar vibe of TV on the radio. And just all day, every day on the fucking subway playing that song on repeat because I was too sad and just not even sad. Block party. It's my block party. I was just too overwhelmed by everything. And so I would just on the subway to and from work.
Yeah. But Janelle and I both live there. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's also not an easy place. Like everything, it's not an easy place, everything is hard in New York. I lived there for 8 years and I loved it. And I was like, I'm never leaving New York. I feel alive here. Everyone else who doesn't live in New York fucking sucks. And like, I really,
such a New Yorker.
Yeah, I like really, people still think I'm a New Yorker. I think because I kind of still have that energy for better or worse. But like, then the moment that I decided I did not want to live in New York anymore, I was like, I need to get out of here or else I truly will die. I will just like die. And now I'm like, oh no, life is easier in LA. I am kind of like a little bitch these days, but also I don't care. Like, I don't care that I want my life to be easier. There's like, it's not a contest of like how hard you can be, you know?
The scam of capitalism is we've convinced ourselves that things have to be we in order to be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bullshit.
And they don't. Ease is so delightful.
It is.
And like we see this all the time in relationships of if we're not fighting for this relationship, then it's a bad one. And it's like, no, if you're fighting for this relationship, you need to let it go. Turns out easy is good. And like I, like with jobs, with all kinds of stuff of like, we have this false belief that strife makes you better. And all it does is make you sad.
And tired.
It just whittles you down over time. Like, strife isn't fun. Like, and even for a long time, I thought that was a false belief of people who had never gone through anything before. And it's like, oh, like you're just looking for something to make you interesting. And then realized that, as my therapist once told me, I'm addicted to chaos. And it's because we've talked about this, I've gotten used to things being hard. So I just assume if it's not hard, then it must not be worth it.
Right.
Not worth it.
Fully.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, I was like, are you saying I'm part of the problem?
Yeah.
Jennifer, I don't love this. Jennifer is in LA. She's great. Like, I did
Jennifer therapist
for this. But and then once that started to click, I mean, I want to be very clear. This is still something that I have to work on regularly and often. And it's not like I did not figure it out and did not magically say, oh, and now I don't care about chaos. I just watch a lot of Real Housewives to get a fix.
You got to get it out somewhere.
Yeah. Like, my husband makes fun of me. He's not a reality TV show person at all. And he's like, you watch so much reality TV. Like, how do you do it? And like, I only want trashy TV. Like, I watch The Bachelor and Real Housewives.
Messy lives only.
Like, when I need to feel grounded, I watch Teen Mom. Like,
Oh my God, my favorite. I love it. Teen Mom kept me from being a teen mom, I'm convinced.
That's 100%. I honestly think they did great work.
It should be on PBS. Like, it is like a public service.
But I was like, it's because there's no chaos in there's no apparent chaos. Chaotic things happen, but I'm not living in chaos anymore. And my system still needs a fix. So I can safely get it through TV instead of creating problems in my life for the sake of having problems.
That's a great way to cope. That's a great way to cope because like, it's totally true. Human brains are wired and built to solve problems. So we make problems for ourselves if we aren't solving problems.
Yes.
Which is
it's why I love pop culture, like, especially as an Aquarius rising. Give me a good conspiracy theory to just sink my teeth into for a couple hours. Yeah. But like, whatever, it's like, I can safely give myself the same high, cause it's a high of like figuring out a problem or just learning about mess and being able to put it all together into like a succinct little like Charlie Day red string, like board. And like
Ted Cruz, Zodiac Killer,
here we go. And like it's deeply satisfying, but it has no impact on my life. Like I still keep my lights on. I still go to work. I still can be a good partner. Like I can show up in the ways that I need to show up because I'm not busying myself with creating issues. Like I remember once when my now husband and I were still dating and we had only been dating for a little bit, which was very scary because it was like, this has been like the only healthy relationship. Like, and that's,
like,
we
should get married. Yeah,
hopefully.
Exactly.
It's like, we gotta lock this down. But it was early on, still in my old ways, old patterns. And we got in a huge fight because I was convinced that because he decided he wanted to, this is going to make no fucking sense. We were at a family event. We were at a wedding. We were at one of his cousin's weddings.
I love arguing with a significant other at a wedding.
Nothing brings up a fight like a wedding.
I want to cry so much already.
And he was like, okay, like we should head out. The wedding was like an hour away from LA because he's from Orange County. So like, he was like, we should head back. And because he decided that we should leave without like consulting me, like it was something that needed to be consulted. Like it wasn't like he was like, we have to go get in the car. Like he was like, I think we should probably head back. And I was like, okay, yeah. And somehow between walking from the table to getting to the car, had decided that was him showing me that he wanted to leave our relationship.
Yeah, that's logical.
Honestly, I could follow that train of thought.
Totally. I was going there. My mind was going.
Yes. I was like, well, you decided you didn't want to be at this party anymore without talking to me. So one day you're going to decide you don't want to be in this relationship anymore without talking to me. So you might as well just say it right now. Like you can feel your voice just ratcheting up. And like in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, you were unhinged and you're lucky that this person was willing to like sort this out with you, because I would not have blamed him for being like, you know what, you're fucking right. Like, I'm going to drop you off when this is done. And like, but we fully got in a fight about it because he's trying so hard to get my unhealthy attachment style to hear that this is a healthy attachment. And he's a Cancer, and like, God bless him.
Oh, baby.
He's just like this sweet, kind man. And we both have a Venus in Leo. So like it works out really well, but he's trying so hard to convince me that like he's in it for the long haul and wants to be with me. And I'm trying so hard to convince him that he doesn't. That despite how much I want to be with him, I know he doesn't want to be with me, and that he should just stop lying to me and tell me the truth right now. And again, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, so cringy. But in the moment, like it feels so real and it feels so big. And it's because I am used to big, chaotic love of like, I love you. Unhealthy love. Like, I love you. I have to be with you. I have to have you around me all the time. And I'm going to start getting angry at you when you don't have time for me. Or I love you and I have no way of communicating that. So I'm just going to be really cold with you and make you gaslight you and make you think that you've done something wrong. And this goes beyond like romantic relationships, like having like shitty relationships with family. Like, you know, this never starts at a late age. It always starts at an early age. It's just playing out in different ways. And realizing like, oh, you've gotten so used to these chaotic, wild ass relationships that you think that's what a relationship is and should be. And if it's not that, then that means someone's lying to you and keeping a secret from you. And because you're now trying to create chaos in your brain.
You're like trying to fit it into the mold of what you know.
Yes. It's like,
works.
Well, if I don't know what's wrong with them yet, it's always a yet. It's like they're lying to me and they're hiding it. And the longer it takes for me to figure it out, the worse it's going to be. So I got like, we are fucking pathological at times.
We are, but like
women,
just people, not women.
Have you met a Pisces man?
Don't do it.
Just
as a Pisces, I would say just don't, avoid, abstain. Like,
sorry to any Pisces men who might be listening, but you need a lot of therapy. I'm going to tell you now.
I mean, yes, I could talk about this forever, but I think I said this on the podcast before. My therapist always says, what's hysterical is historical. So like, you are a logical, rational, intelligent person who's moderately well adjusted in this world. And if you have a hysterical reaction to something and you almost, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like you almost like have an out of body experience where you're like, why the fuck am I saying this? Like, why am I doing this right now? But I can't stop it. It just keeps coming out of my mouth. Why am I doing this?
I have the opposite outer body experience where I'm like the Kermit memes that were like me to me, where some part of me leaves my body, is watching the situation and is like, this is how you should handle this. She never gives me helpful information.
Never.
She's the one who thought it was a good idea to throw a glass. Like, she's the one who's like, you should keep yelling about this thing that you clearly don't even care about anymore. Like she, and so I have learned this. And I said the other day, talking to a friend, I was like, you know, I'm really proud of myself. Like, yeah, I've had a lot of personal growth. And they're like, yeah, like what, like you seem like you're doing great. Like, what like made you have this moment? And I was like, Michael and I were like going back and forth about something dumb. Like it was like a TV show or something. And I decided that instead of just ignoring him and telling him that he was wrong, that I would just say, you know what? We don't need to keep arguing about this. And that is gross.
That is gross.
Because she was still out here like, you should just because Mars and Taurus, my conflict style is the moment that I have decided that I'm done with this, I'm fucking done with this. And it's going to be mean and loud and
we will end you.
Yes.
And I will burn down this house if I need to.
With myself,
to get out of
I don't care. Whatever it takes. It's done. It's out. Like I'm pulling the pin on the grenade and growth is learning. Maybe just leave, like not even putting the grenade down. Growth is learning. Maybe just leave the pin in. Just leave it. Don't pull it. Like maybe just don't pull it. Like one day we'll learn how to not pick up the grenade. But right now growth is just looking like maybe just leave the pin in. Because has it ever solved anything? No, but it felt really good until I've had
in the moment.
In the moment.
2 seconds, and then you feel like the worst.
And do you know how hard it is for me to apologize as a Leo?
Yeah.
Like, with this queen energy, queens don't apologize.
I'm sorry. Doesn't feel right.
Me?
No, I couldn't. You want me to apologize? That doesn't.
That's an automatic no. It's an automatic no.
It's just gonna be a no for me, dog. Sorry. See? I did it.
Wow. Well, I'm triggered.
If you don't leave this episode being a little bit confronted with yourself.
Right. We really didn't sugarcoat anything. Anything in this episode. So do that with that what you will, my friends.
Take what you like and leave the rest.
Exactly.
I can't make you.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
I've been trying to think of episode titles all while we've been also talking, and I'm like, I don't even know, guys.
I don't know where we're going to go. We were going to talk about tarot, and now we've been recording for 2 hours, and I'm like, we can't keep going. Because like this is the middle of a work day. Like I'm so sure Serita has things to do.
Yeah.
So, but I had fun. Like I felt like,
I had a great time.
I had a plan. We went on a different pathway and I'm glad we did.
We talked about tarot. It was in there.
We talked around
it. was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything is tarot. How about we leave it with that?
There we go. You can use the tarot for anything.
Perfect. Way to wrap it up. That brings it full circle.
Here for you.
Button on the end of it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really am triggered. Like I'm about to have a moment after this whole conversation. So much just came up that I'm just like flash.
Name 5 things you can see in the room.
I know, right? Oh my God, please, flowers. Yeah. This was really informative though. I think like maybe do I have ADHD? Like I'm thinking about a lot of things throughout this.
Get on TikTok. They'll tell you.
Don't go to a doctor. TikTok will tell you. I'm like, should I do Ancestry.com? Because I did 23andMe and it didn't tell me anything about my past. So
I was disappointed. Yeah.
I'm here for recommendations. You're talking to someone who reads a lot of product reviews.
Cusp, it's where we review
brands
and products, but like in a very honest way.
Oh, hell yeah.
Unsponsored, unfiltered.
I almost exclusively read the negative product reviews. Because I don't actually care that much about why you like it. Yes. Yeah. It's like I need to know what didn't work and if your issue is my issue.
Yeah. And like, this is the type of person I am is like, usually I go into things 99% of the time thinking they're not going to work and thinking I'm going to hate them. So you need to, I'm not starting at 0. I'm starting like below 0 with most products. And so if you can pull me above the 0 line, then I will like begrudgingly give you that. But I will also talk about like why I really didn't want to like this thing because like it sounds like absolute bullshit to me.
Those are the reviews I need in my life.
Well, this was so fun. Thank you for sitting with us for so much longer than we
I didn't realize it was 2 hours. This was so much fun. I had a great time.
Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Serita Fonta. That's SERITA-FONTA. It's a lot of vowels. Or you can find me on my website, seritaf.com, SERITA. F as in Frank .com. There's info on there about me, how to get a hold of me. You can also DM me. And yeah, I am opening my books for clients once a month. So get in when you fit in. And yeah.
Perfect. And if you're in the North Node, you get access to Serita.
Yes. And North Node folks, I'm excited to see you. It's going to be a blast. I promise shadow work is fun.
It is fun. It's fun when you teach it.
Because she loves mess.
Yeah, let's light shit on fire. That sounds great. We're going to do that.
Do it.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us and beautiful rest of your day.
Of course. Thank you. This has been lovely. And thank you to all of you for being here.
Thank you. This is fun.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and that is our episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to hear what you have to think about everything that Serita said. All the stuff from the tarot to craniosacral to Ted Cruz as a Zodiac killer. Like, I know that we have some crossover audience of murderinos and 12th house listeners. So hit me up, shoot me a text at the number in the show notes, because I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings and perspectives on that. And what else have I got to tell you? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 12th house. It means the world to us. It makes such a difference when you share our podcast with your friends and your family and the people that you love. You know, all of this, the crazy and cool thing about podcasting is that it all comes from your community. Like, you can try as much as you want to market yourself, but really the way that the message gets shared and that these valuable resources, like these nuggets and pearls of information, get out to more people is when your audience takes it upon themselves to share what you've made. And that's really humbling and really inspiring to see that this content resonates with you and that you want to share it with other people. So thank you for sharing this with your friends, for shooting it as a text to a homie, to sharing it on your Instagram. It really means so much, and it helps us do this thing every week. So thank you for that. If you want to rate, review, and subscribe, that also definitely helps us get found by more people. And I know subscribing is not the sexiest thing to do, but we do drop bonus episodes pretty regularly. So it's not just that we put out our podcast every Tuesday. We drop nuggets and gems. We try to surprise and delight. That's kind of our thing at Holisticism, as often as possible. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the really good podcast episodes that we end up dropping not on Tuesdays. And I think that's it. Oh, we have so much good stuff happening in the cusp too. So if you're not part of the cusp already, dude, go join. It is so fun in there. We are talking about non-alcoholic beverages this month and where that industry is going. And spoiler alert, it is popping. It is popping off. Like, if you are thinking of starting a business, I feel like that's the most recession-proof business you could possibly begin, because not only is it really fun, but I think we're going to see a monumental change in this space as we come out of quarantine. I don't think that it's going to be the roaring 20s where everyone's getting plastered off champagne, Great Gatsby style. I think we're going to see people wanting to be in public but not drinking, because a lot of people got sober during the quarantine. So anyways, there's a whole lot of information inside of this month's version of The Cusp, and there's a great discussion group happening. So you can pop in there, join The Cusp at the link in our bio. It's $5.99. It's amazing. You get discount codes to all the products that we promote. And if you share it with your friends, you get special deals and treats and all the fun things. So, okay. I think that's all the information that I have to share with you today. Thanks again for listening. I think that you're the best, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye.